Imagine this. You're stepping into September, and you've got a completely clean slate. All those little operational leaks, sealed tight. Toxic contracts, completely liquidated. And that capital you were so careful to protect earlier this month, it's finally being deployed into self-sovereign assets. In our last explainer, we broke down the critical first half of August, right up to that massive August 12th eclipse. But today, we're zooming in on the second half of the month. So if you were born in 1979, listen up. The dust is starting to settle, but the real wealth work, it begins right now. You're 47 years old, and your primary job today is to lock in your wins, mercilessly cut those operational leaks, and brace yourself for a necessary structural purge at the end of the month. Let's get into it. Now, early August was all about raw explosive expansion, really getting that launch visibility. We had that mid-month eclipse pushing aggressive moves and asserting bold authority. But late August, well, that requires a completely different approach, a totally clinical shift. We're stepping away from that fiery, explosive energy and moving straight into a phase of rigorous auditing, intense administrative sovereignty, and laser-focused operational precision. Because the tactics that worked for you last week, they absolutely will not work next week. Here is the exact, no-nonsense roadmap our blueprint lays out for the rest of the month. First up, we'll get some context on the eclipse aftermath. Then, Phase 1, securing the territory. Phase 2, precision contracting. Phase 3, the surgical purge. Phase 4, sovereign settlement. And we'll wrap up with a quick Q&A on protecting your boundaries. All right, starting with Section 1, context on the eclipse aftermath. We really need to anchor ourselves in reality here, especially after the massive macroeconomic shift we just saw on August 12th. If you were following the Blueprint's early August playbook, you spent those first few weeks auditing systems, freezing speculative capital, and launching your premium position right during that solar eclipse. And make no mistake, the moves you made then are absolutely going to dictate how your Q4 plays out. The strategy is crystal clear here. Transitioning out of traditional employment right now isn't just a good idea, it's a mandatory risk mitigation strategy. Why? Because you need to dodge those impending Q4 corporate layoffs that are going to be triggered by Rahu moving into Capricorn. Moving right along to Section 2, Phase 1, securing the territory. This is where we hit the immediate post-eclipse stabilization phase. The initial shockwave is finally starting to cool off. The blueprint gives us a very strict daily chronological timeline from August 15th through the 31st. We're talking an exact countdown. We kick things off by stabilizing that initial surge. Then we transition heavily into building standard operating procedures, drafting really high-resolution contracts, and then boom, we execute a structural purge to close out the month. Zooming in on the text for August 15th through the 21st, as that mid-month launch shockwave cools, the 1979 generation enters what we call the processing window. So if you just launched a premium offer or you finally initiated that corporate exit last week, this is exactly when your initial data starts rolling in. You need to use these specific days strictly to follow up with high-ticket leads in your network. Make absolutely sure your digital infrastructure is handling the new volume smoothly. Keep your operational head down here, folks. Do not make the mistake of thinking a temporary post-eclipse lull means you've lost momentum. It's just a data gathering phase. Then we hit August 22nd to the 24th. The intelligence report calls this the Meticulous Pivot. As the sun enters Virgo, the whole macro vibe shifts from Leo's creative, fiery energy straight into Virgo's cold, data-driven engineering. For a 47-year-old executive, the showtime era is officially on pause and the audit era has begun. The Blueprint's advice? Tell your team to look at the numbers with total, complete detachment. It's time to take those raw ideas and hammer them into scalable, standard operating procedures. Optimize your tech stack, scrutinize your margins, and aggressively eliminate any friction points in your daily workflow. Which brings us to Section 3, Phase 2, Precision Contracting. We're shifting into a high-stakes, incredibly high-resolution window at the end of the month. From August 25th to the 27th, as Mercury enters Virgo, you get the absolute best, highest resolution window of the entire month for contract precision and system verification. If you're in the 1979 cohort, this is the literal exact time to draft your formal agreements, read the tiny fine print on your corporate filings, and set explicitly uncompromising terms with your clients. Oh, and if you happen to be integrating automated platforms or AI pipelines into your business, you need to test those logic loops right now. Don't wait. The text hammers home one key point above all else for this 3-day stretch. Every comma and every line of code matters. The source material delivers this with absolute authority. Meticulous auditing is exactly what gives you the operational upper hand right now. Do not gloss over the details. I repeat, do not gloss over them. This level of precision is literally what separates relying on institutions from actual sovereign asset ownership. Okay, Section 4, Phase 3, the surgical purge. Now we arrive at the intense architectural cleanup triggered by the August 28th partial lunar eclipse in Pisces. The strategy demands a surgical purge. Look, a lunar eclipse brings fated, absolute endings. It specifically targets subconscious illusions and hidden, nasty little operational leaks. If you're in a business, this is your golden window to cleanly fire the bottom 20% of your problematic, low-margin clients. If a business partnership, a client, or a legacy investment has just been this parasitic drain on your energy and capital, the text literally says the universe is cutting the cord today. Let the deadweight drop so your sovereign infrastructure can actually breathe and scale. Your exact defensive maneuvers here depend entirely on the role you're playing. If you're an investor, completely avoid catching falling knives right now. Highly speculative asset classes are going to experience sudden liquidations, so just wait it out. But if you're a business owner, your job is to liquidate those toxic liabilities and underperforming software vendors immediately. Do not fight the liquidation process, lean into it. Let's look at Section 5, Phase 4, Sovereign Settlement. We finally enter the triumphant, calm resolution of the month on August 30th and 31st. The month closes out with raw, systemic clarity as all the friction from that purge just dissolves away. Remember that liquidity and dry powder you successfully protected way back in early August? Now is the time to deploy it. Keep a very close eye out for institutional liquidations of real-world assets, and only allocate your capital after the eclipse dust has fully settled on August 30th. Take a look at your newly streamlined balance sheets. You are entering September lighter, much more profitable, and completely self-sovereign. Finally, Section 6, Q&A on protecting your boundaries. I want to pivot for a second to address the most critical strategic objection noted in the text. You know, it's super common to experience a bit of risk fatigue right around this time, and you might be asking yourself, wait, if I just launched my massive new premium business offer on August 12th, why in the world am I already firing clients and cutting ties during the August 28th lunar eclipse? Well, the blueprint gives a very clinical answer to that. Stepping into your full authority inherently attracts two things: high-value aligned capital and parasitic energy. It's just how it works. That early August launch was your giant signal to the market, but the late August lunar eclipse, that is your mandatory filter to protect your new boundaries. Dropping deadweight is not a failure, folks. It is a strictly engineered requirement. Letting it drop is precisely the thing that allows your newly automated pipelines to scale up without all that friction dragging you down. So I'll leave you with this final, highly provocative thought directly from the source material. Are your legacy attachments holding you hostage from September's sovereign wealth? The 1979 generation is being called right now to command premium pricing for your incredibly unique judgment, and to let the systems you own do the heavy lifting for you. Execute the purge without a second of hesitation, own your infrastructure, and lock in those wins. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.